Who am I, and what is my cultural identity? In order to answer this question, I must view myself in relation to my surroundings, both physically and historically. This is because my cultural identity is based in my culture, which is the backdrop of my very existence. These surroundings include the history and background of my family, the background of my own life, the overarching culture in which I live, and the membership that I have in certain subcultures. Now, why do I care about this? Why does it matter how I identify culturally? Well, it matters because my cultural identity is a ripple effect that branches out into every single part of my life. Understanding my own cultural identity helps me to understand my values, beliefs, and perspective of the world. This is because the way that I am raised and the culture in which I live gives me the values and perspective that I have. These thoughts then directly impact my actions. The way that I choose to act in the world is based on how I see the world and the value that I place in myself and the people around me. As a teacher, it's my responsibility to create an environment in which all of my students can flourish, and my cultural identity influences my ability to do this. I see the world in a way in which no other individual sees the world, and it's important for me to be aware of that, to be aware of my values, and to be aware of the perspective that I have on the world in order to create an environment that is welcoming for all students and all perspectives. So the first influence on my cultural identity is the history of my family. The far right image, the third child in from the left, is my grandfather, and his lineage is known in my family to go all the way back to Germany when they first moved here in the late 1900s. On my mother's side, I am aware of my lineage pretty far back, and I remember a story being told to me about the Lord and Lady Copeland of England and a romance that occurred there and eventually how we moved to America. While these things are important to who I am and how I identify, I don't necessarily find myself being very attached to the history of my ancestors. There are numerous reasons for this. One is that my family doesn't really talk about my ancestors very often. It's not something that is emphasized within my family. Another reason is that we do not participate in any cultural traditions that what my ancestors would have participated in. And then a third reason is that adoption is something that has frequently occurred within my family. On my father's side, one of my great-grandfathers was adopted, and on my mother's side, one of my great-grandfathers was adopted. And my mother, who is in the upper left picture in the center, she was also adopted. This has helped me to appreciate family and value family in a way that does not relate to blood lineage, but relates to the people that are closest to you, the people that care for you and the people that you care for, and the people that have raised you. Another influence on my cultural identity are the events that have taken place within my life. One of the biggest events was the move that I made to a big city when I was younger. At the age of 7, I found myself experiencing a change that would deeply impact the rest of my life. My parents had gone through the painful process of a divorce during my earliest years of school, and in 2nd grade I moved to a new city with my mother who had met someone new. This move came with quite a bit of metaphorical baggage. I was introduced to a new school, a new dance studio, because dance was important to me at the time, in an entirely new environment. Not only did the move influence my identity, but so did the divorce. While I thankfully was in the situation in which my father was only an hour away and my parents respected one another, I still had to come to terms with the fact that my parents were no longer together and were both with new people. Moving gave me a new perspective, and it allowed me to look back and appreciate the familiarity and closeness of the small town that I am from, while also recognizing and appreciating the opportunities that were given to me by moving to a larger city. The divorce impacted the way that I view love and view relationships, And identifying as someone who has divorced parents helps me to better relate to individuals who have gone through similar situations. The overarching culture in which I live is the American society, and being immersed in this society from birth has had a deep influence on my cultural identity. While I do not agree with all of the values and beliefs of my society, they have impacted my own values and beliefs. One of the biggest values within the American society is the sense of individualism, the sense that you are the most important person and that you need to look out for yourself in order to succeed. This leads to a highly competitive society in which each individual is working towards their own success, in the sense that hard work is what is going to help you get ahead in life. Freedom and liberty rights are highly valued within the American society, which means that each individual has the freedom to take the path that they would like to take and the right to make their dreams come true and accomplish their goals. Being successful in the United States is thought of in terms of monetary and materialistic success. An individual is seen as successful when they can live comfortably and have not only what they need, but also what they want in life. While I see that there is value in individualism, competition, freedom, and being goal-oriented, I think that it's important for me to take a step back and look at the values of society in an objective manner and critique them for what they really are. The last influence on my cultural identity is the membership that I have in certain subcultures within the American society. I view myself in terms of my gender, my eating habits, my self-identification as a hipster, and my socioeconomic status. Being a female in today's society leads me to admiring my femininity and the strength that I have as a female. As a vegetarian, I find myself within a community of vegetarians and vegans in which I can identify with and learn from. I also view myself as a hipster, which is a modern subculture within America. There are many definitions for what a hipster is, but for me, a hipster is essentially a 21st century hippie. I value the environment, and I am a critic of many of the norms within our society today. And being a part of that culture, I'm able to relate to other people who share those values and beliefs and perspectives on the world. The last membership of a subculture is my socioeconomic status. While this isn't something that I value in myself, it's something that is important for me to be aware of. I am a member of the middle class, and being from a small town, I'm able to look back on a time when I wasn't as high up in the socioeconomic ladder, and I'm able to appreciate where I am now and use that acknowledgement in order to have an impact on how I view other people and their socioeconomic status. Overall, it's easy to see how all of these things influence who I am and how I see the world. Looking forward, I hope that I am able to use my awareness of my cultural identity to not only become a better teacher, but to become a better person. My values, beliefs, and perspectives are always changing, growing, and evolving, and I will always strive for a self-growth that has a positive impact on those around me.